Our first story takes us to Secunda, where we meet Khwezi Mthembu. Born in Msinga, KwaZulu-Natal, Khwezi moved to Mpumalanga at the age of 5. He started working for SASL at the age of 19 after dropping out of varsity due to financial difficulties. What followed next, no one could have anticipated. A survived accident and another work opportunity, yet Khwezi opted for the unknown, leaving a good salary and a comfortable job. Today, Mthembu's involvement in a car accident can be seen as the catalyst for being an entrepreneur and motivational speaker.
So if you continue between living with a disability as umuntu and being a business person living with a disability, yikuqinisela nokubekezela nokuzithemba, because personally if uphila with a disability kumele uqinisele, kumele ukwazi ukubekezela, kumele ukwazi ukuzithemba futhi to an extent ukuthi abangani bami abaningi they actually forget at times nanokuthi ngu-wheelchair, because it's something that is not even good conversation. So naku-business side as well kumele uqinisele ukwazi ukubekezela, uzithembe futhi, and that is something esengisebenzele kakhulu, because even when ngihamba to pitch business yami, it also just speaks to i-aura engibanayo mangena, because it's something engisengizwile ebantwini kakhulu ukuthi mangene erumini the energy automatically changes, because they can feel ukuthi ngiyazithemba. And as much as we are considered quote unquote small businesses, but I mean, I've never taken myself as a small business person. I'm simply a business person. So ukuzithemba, ukuqinisela nokubekezela iyo nje izinto ezizokunceda empilweni, and it's something ezokunceda whether you are disabled or not. I think ukuthi yizo zinto eziyi-3 kumele ube nazo nje empilweni: uqinisela, ukuzithemba nokubekezela, kuzokuthatha ubeke endaweni ezikude kakhulu. Yeah, so i-advice engingaba nayo yikuthi even if ungaba ku-accident ube ku-wheelchair, njengoba ngu-wheelchair, nothing changes. The only difference yikuthi awusakhona ukuhamba, but then you will face certain difficulties obviously because awusekho mobile angithi. But that shouldn't change character yakho, that shouldn't change umuntu owuye, that shouldn't change your respect for yourself, and that shouldn't change the respect ofila ukuthi uyayideserve from omunye umuntu just because uku-wheelchair. So I think the biggest advice there ukuthi uku-wheelchair doesn't diminish i-value yakho as umuntu. You're still an individual, usasenamaphupho, you're still an individual who has a lot to offer to lo mhlaba, who has a lot to offer to the economy, who has a lot to offer to family, who has a lot to offer to this world. Instead, indaba yokuba disabled, it puts you in the best position for you to inspire others out there. Ukuthi if you truly believe in yourself, if you truly believe kulento leyo oyenzayo, nothing can stop you, not even being on a wheelchair. And iphupho lami elikhulu is to actually build the biggest orphanage oke wayibona in this country, which is self-sustaining, ezoba nengadi, ukuthi ukudla kwethu we grow our own food. It's quite a huge dream, angikhona ukuyichaza, but my ultimate dream is to build the biggest orphanage I've ever seen, which is self-sustaining, which will employ a lot of people, and which will give abanye abantwana ukuthi they've never had the opportunity that I've had yokukhula nomama nobaba, ukuvala leyo gap kubo ukuthi bangafili ukuthi khona into abashoda ngazo. So yeah man, watch this space. I'm far from done, and I do hope ukuthi I continue inspiring people, and I do hope ukuthi I continue being a beacon of hope for abanye abantu who are living with disabilities, ukuthi babheke izinto engizenzayo and also apply that to impilo zabo, to say if ukhwezi uyakhona ukuphusha aloku akule simo nathi esikuso, then they can do it as well, because I've always maintained ukuthi there's nothing entirely special about Khwezi. I'm just stubborn about my dreams, but very flexible with my approach.
A successful business is based on 2 almost equal factors: First, the viability of the business idea, and this is predominantly related to whether there's a demand for the goods or service the enterprise offers, i.e. markets. And second, the entrepreneur or business owner, and is related to the skill, expertise, resilience, innovation, adaptability, and determination the entrepreneur brings to the business. After the break, we speak to Jodie Kroone, marketing and public relations specialist, social media marketer, and entrepreneur. See you in a bit. Born abled, a mere 22 with the world at her feet, Jodie Kroone faced her biggest challenge as she became a paraplegic. This following a 2017 near-fatal motor vehicle accident. Jodie's unbreakable spirit and insatiable hunger for life has made it her goal to help others who are physically challenged by sharing her inspirational journey. Jodie is a T3 paraplegic, doing her absolute best to adapt and live a full life in a wheelchair. Her positive approach and openness have made her an inspiration within her community. Welcome, Jodie.
Hi, Helga.
As an entrepreneur, we know that you're a big go-getter. What do you do for business?
My business started as social media and just kind of helping big companies get online and tap into that potential that everyone should be doing. I think the world is going quite digital at this rate, so why not take advantage of that? But since then, it's really just grown into helping new businesses find out their branding and their characteristics that you want to portray on social media and digitally. I work with personalities and companies, which is awesome. We've gone into photography. Then we were like, maybe we need to work on people's charities with their companies, or are they making sure that they're meeting NPO work and doing something for giving back to the community? So that's been a big passion, and I've actually found that my favorite part of my job is when I can link a community with a business and just make sure that the fit is perfect. And then we'll write articles about it and we'll do posts and just get it out there that this company has given back. So I really like that aspect. We've gone into photography. I've also mentored a few up and coming entrepreneurs. I do audits and branding for new businesses as well. So they can come to me and I'll kind of give them direction.
That's quite a lot.
So yeah.
That's quite a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. What inspires Jodie? What drives you? What gets you to this point?
I think I'm very inspired by other people, which can be a good or a bad thing. So try to focus on the good. I love seeing people have an idea and it comes true, or speak about something and then 5 years later you bump into them and they've written a book, they did the world travel, everything that they've dreamed of. So I think watching other people has been a big inspiration to me. Personally, I also like getting through my own to-do lists, whether it's business or I have a bucket list that gets added every year and ticked off, and yeah, so I think that inspires me. It's something to look forward to as well.
Jodie, during the pandemic, lots of businesses were hit really hard. How's yours doing?
My business actually started in the pandemic. I think that's how I also knew that this was something that I really wanted to do, because it started as a hobby. I had a full-time job. We all were at home 24/7, and I just saw this opportunity to help the local grocer down the road or someone with a farm store that didn't have social media. So I kind of helped them get online, and through that saw the potential, which gave me the courage within 6 months to quit my job and take this full time. So my business is a pandemic baby. And yeah, it started also as not a charity, but I would do a lot of free work because I really was passionate about helping others get online. And I think I maybe was a little bit nervous to take that kind of responsibility without being 100% confident. So yeah, the pandemic actually really helped me grow to where I am today.
You're highly courageous. What motivation or motivational tips do you have for other people who want to get into business, not throughout the pandemic, but just want to start their business in general? What tips do you have for them?
I would say that the hardest part is getting started. So if you're struggling to be motivated every day, that's okay. Break it down. be like, okay, if I can only commit to 10 minutes of studying something online or reading one article, that's okay, because from personal experience, once you get started, you actually don't want to stop. So on the days where I'm not feeling up to it, I just have to push myself to just say 5 minutes. And before I know it, like 2 hours have passed. So that's definitely the biggest thing that people can use as their advantage, is just pushing through those first 5 minutes. And you never know, you get different ideas, new things happen. So it's definitely worth just pushing through.
Jodie, tell us about your biggest obstacles.
I think my biggest obstacle is other people's perceptions. I had an article come out in the beginning of the year about my business, and it actually didn't mention anything about my wheelchair. So a few of the people I was meeting with, they would arrive and I'd be sitting in my wheelchair, and I think they might have had a preconceived idea about disability. So it kind of took away from what I was trying to focus on with them. That's been a big obstacle. So I don't know, is it a good thing? Like, I don't want it to be a big discussion, but I think people are still nervous about the unknown, and using a wheelchair and having a disability, not being able to move, having paralysis. There's a lot of unknown. So I think I'm nervous about what I come across as to people, and I'm also nervous that they have this preconceived idea of me. So I would definitely say that's my biggest obstacle, is how people see someone with a disability versus what they really are.
I agree with you 100%. That's a much bigger conversation. And preconceived ideas are going to be there, but I applaud you for pushing through. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So what is next for Jodie?
Thank you. Oh, so I've added a few things to my bucket list, some personal, some business. And I actually had to write them down, because if I went on about it, I think I would get too many ideas out there. But my biggest thing at the moment is that my sister immigrated to Holland, so I'd really like to plan an overseas trip. I haven't traveled with my wheelchair yet, so I think that'll be a really awesome goal to achieve. And then I'm also going to enter Miss Wheelchair 2023. So yeah, that's going to be quite fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll be rooting for you, most definitely. Jodie, thank you so much for your time. I just want to say you are so much more than your wheelchair, and don't ever let anybody judge you by that.
Thank you so much, Holger, for interviewing me. Thanks, SABC too.
Binnekort terug. Welcome back. Nenio Mbazima became deaf as a young child growing up in Eswatini, where he completed his education in a so-called mainstream hearing school. He was introduced to deaf culture and sign language as an aspiring but struggling young man upon his arrival in Jozi. He self-published a book, Strong When, which narrates his lived experience of life in general and the stupidity hearing people get up to when coming into contact with deaf people in 2012. This award-winning author and qualified filmmaker quickly managed to endear him to both hearing and deaf communities within his unique sense of humor, love for life, willingness to take risks, and recognizing opportunity knocking on the door of disabled people. He subsequently launched a company which offers South African Sign Language interpreter services. He runs a filmmaking company and is always available and able to catch opportunities where he has an edge, because he is deaf.
If I could do a comparison between a hearing business owner and a deaf business owner, a hearing business owner could go to any meeting. They could chat, do business, and leave, and everything was done. But if we looked at a deaf business owner like myself, I would need to go to a meeting, and then I would have to make sure I arrange an interpreter to come with me. And I'm responsible to pay for that interpreter. And if I have a budget for it, that's no problem. But when you're starting your business and you're starting small, like mine, I started very small, it's very difficult to find the money to now afford additional things such as an interpreter. You can't just go to any business meeting, and that's a big challenge. And it's easy for deaf people to have businesses that fail. Money is always an issue when starting a business. Sometimes you need money to grow your business as well. And word of mouth is something that cannot be underestimated in business. It is so important that even if I do one job, I have to do it perfectly, because I need my clients to tell other people, wow, this man was incredible. He did such a good job. He's so fantastic. And that is how I will get more and more business and grow my business. I also have one business which I never actually tell people about. I lost my hearing when I was 10 years old. And I stayed home for a good 2 or 3 years before I went back to school. So during those 2 or 3 years while I was staying at home, I used to draw houses. So I used to sort of design my own houses. At first, when I started drawing these houses, they were not exactly perfect. And a lot of people used to laugh at me and my family would laugh, but I never gave up and I improved slowly but surely. By the time I was in high school, I was actually able to sell my designs. There were a lot of people who contacted me and would ask me, I would like to buy a design, I would like to buy a house design, would you do it for me? And it's something I can still do to this day. Many people still ask me, but I don't always want people to know that I can do it. It's a business I never really tell people about because honestly, it's something that would kill me doing it full time. Sitting for hours on end with my neck bent forward and my spine bent, trying to draw. By the time I'm finished, my body is finished. I can't take it anymore. Another way that I like to market my businesses is using social media. Social media is a very powerful tool like WhatsApp and Twitter, Facebook, any social media. You know, there are so many barriers and so many challenges that we as deaf people face. And I always say, well, what if one day you start your own company or start your own business? As deaf people, I always encourage us to do so. I would love to one day have a company where everyone who works in the company is deaf. From my experience, being a deaf person, you can study, you can go as far as you want, you can go to university, you can get a PhD if you want. And then the day you send off your CV to a company, they'll be like, wow, I'm so impressed by the CV. They call you for an interview. And the minute you arrive and say to them, oh, I'm deaf, the company will be like, okay, no, we thought you were hearing, so we would prefer a hearing person. We would prefer to employ someone hearing. And that's what happens every day to deaf people. So I wish one day in the future to have a business where everyone is deaf. The only hearing person we need is to make phone calls on our behalf. That's really all we need a hearing person for. That would be beautiful. I remember 2020, about the time where COVID started. During that time, the office of the president sent me an email, and they were looking for a quotation for sign language interpreters. And I had provided interpreters on TV before for when the president had spoken. And that's why I say to deaf people, you can become anything. In life, we cannot be waiting for other people to provide us opportunities and to help us. We must do it for ourselves. I've met many deaf people who sit and say, oh, you know, Nenio, I don't want to get a job. I've got a grant and that's enough. I can depend on my grant and my life will be fine. And I say to them, a grant is not enough, please. Do something, try something, make something of yourself. And I always advise deaf people, especially the young deaf people, that you can knock on many doors and many job opportunities may come your way, and many hearing people won't accept you and won't accept your deafness. But does that mean you have to accept that? You don't have to accept how it makes you feel.
Bly veilig, tot volgende week. Selfde plek, selfde tyd. Only on SABC2, where you belong. Join, like and share Activated on Facebook.